You're too much, James. I was watching you the whole time. I was balling away. All right. Good morning. It is the Sports Debate Podcast. I'm BA. Of course, you got James Martin. Of course, Jack Hirsch. Hope y'all are having a very good day or starting of a day. It's going to be warm here in Michigan. I don't know about the temperature in y'all's places, but it's going to be like 65 here today. It's going to be like midsummer. Well, beginning of summer. So let's get into the sports debate questions. First one. If the Raiders offer to trade the number one overall pick in the draft to the Jets for their first two selections, 2nd and 16th, should New York do it? I'm going to go to James first because I know this is your team, Jack. So let me go to James first.
Okay, I'll take that. The Jets have a slew of picks in 2026, and they have a slew of picks in 2027 as well. So they got so much room to play with. If they were someone to ask them to, if they wanted to move up and the asking was the 2nd and the 16th, I say you go ahead and give it up. I say you just go ahead because that right there, because what you're solidifying is that you're not going to take Arvell Reese or Bailey. You're going to take a quarterback. That's the only reason you're moving up one pick. You're going to go ahead and get your quarterback now. And then you have 2 seconds. You have no thirds, but you have a 4th, 2 5ths, 3 6ths, and 2 7ths in this year's draft alone. And if you want to couple something else to move up, maybe in the 3rd or move back up into the 1st again, you can do it because you have 2 firsts next year. And so you can still obtain whatever it is you need. You're going to need probably linebacker.
3 first-round picks next.
That's right. Year. You're right. Three next. Exactly. So you can give one of those up and move back up into the 1st again this year and obtain somebody else. Jets are in prime position right now to be able to do whatever it is they want to do. It's just a matter of how good they're going to be with their selections. That's really it. Other than that, they have the capital to do many different things. So they're in great position. This should help the coach out. This should help the GM out, and definitely should help the Jets organization out. I think if they were offered that, I would take it. There would be no ifs, ands, or buts about it because it's just way too much. They have too much riches. I wish the Saints had this much like that. That's crazy. I mean, mind you, they lost Quentin Williams, they lost Sauce Gardner to obtain a lot of those picks. So you're going to need a defensive tackle, and you can get that in the 1st round. The guy out of Florida just ran a 5.1. I think you might think that's slow, but the guy's like 6'7", 300 plus pounds, and he's incredible. So I can see them getting him mid-round, maybe coming back into the 1st mid-round, giving up some draft picks, obtaining him. You're going to need another cornerback. You don't have Sauce Gardner. There's a couple in this draft. Mansour Delane and Jermod. I forgot the guy's last name. Jermod, something out of Tennessee. The kid out of Tennessee had an ACL tear. Those are the top 2 rated corners. You could probably obtain one of those with the picks that you have. So you can double dip. You have the room to do it. It's just so much that I didn't realize they had all that, Jack, until this question. You presented this question. And I saw all those draft picks. I was like, wow, man, I wish the Saints had this so much because right now Mickey Loomis is on a tear. He's doing great things with what he has, but I can only imagine if he had that much capital, we'd be outstanding right now. But your Jets are in prime position. If something like that were to be offered them, I think I would say yes. Go ahead and take that move, get your quarterback, and get the rest of the players you want later. With all the capital you have. I'm gonna finish on
that. Yeah. I got to tell you guys a little story, okay? I had my taxes done yesterday, and my accountant, I'm extremely friendly with him. Whenever I have my yearly taxes done, we talk about a lot of topics. We hang out for much longer period of time. And I know his son goes to Indiana University. I knew that all along. And he's showing me pictures of his son, telling me his son going to the playoff games, flying into Miami, this and that. And then he shows me on his phone his picture of his son, big kid, with a little kid. The little kid looked a little nerdish in the beginning. And then it hits me like a ton of bricks. That's Fernando Mendoza. Then he shows me a picture a little later at a pub. Fernando Mendoza is walking around campus alone. No airs about him, one class to the other, blending into the crowd. You never would have known this is the guy who's going to be the number one pick projected in the NFL draft. So that's a nice personality. He has no airs about him, Fernando Mendoza. So that kind of, you take a liking to him with that. Now, the accountant's a big Jet fan. He loves Fernando Mendoza. I asked him this exact question. Would you give up number 2 and number 16 for Fernando Mendoza if the Raiders called you to move up to take him? And he winced and said, I can't quite do it. I just can't do it. I think he'll be good, but there's a ceiling how good, okay? I just don't think he's going to be a great quarterback. I think he's going to be a good quarterback on balance, but I just can't do it. I'd maybe flip off 1 and 2, of course, but maybe later in the draft when they go in the second round, number 40, they go number 32 and number 44. Maybe I would entertain that, he said. But no, I can't give up a prime draft pick at number 16 because odds are you're going to have a really good receiver there. The number nice receivers coming out of this draft, one of them is going to fall to 16. It might be Cornell Tate out of Ohio State, because a lot of these scouts have the mindset of James. James is talking about the combines. Oh, yeah, this guy did this at the combine, so let's take him. And the scouts think along the line that James could be. I have as much faith in James to be a scout as I do as the actual scouts. If I were owner, I'd hire James. He's going to do as well as the other scouts. He'll go to the combine. He'll look at the sheet where the guys ran their 40s, their vertical jumps, and base his picks on that. That's cool. That's what the NFL scouts are doing. So it's no insult to you, James. I think you're just as qualified as they are. I'm complimenting you, in that sense. But no, you can't do it because there's the elephant in the room, guys. And the elephant in the room, and I'm telling you now, and I'm going to tell you later on, I told you so into the future, is Trinidad Chambliss. Trinidad Chambliss is going to be the next Brett Favre. He's a bit of a gunslinger. He's going to be that good. And you're giving, and the other quarterbacks, Arch Manning. Right now, I'm not that high on Arch Manning, but give him time to develop. Let's see how he develops. He might develop into a great quarterback like his uncle, so he might be nowhere near that, but give him time. And there's some other quarterbacks. You don't have to go Fernando Mendoza. Fernando Mendoza was going into next year's draft. He might only be the 3rd, 4th, or 5th best quarterback available. So you can get someone like him. Next year's a lost season for the Jets. Let's be honest about it. And it was funny what the accountant said to me. He said, knowing our Jets, they're going to screw things up. They're going to go 7-10 on the season and be out of range of an elite quarterback. That's the fear. They might overachieve and go 7-10. Imagine that. Okay. We want another 3-14 season. Make it 2-15. We're sacrificing next year. I understand what the situation is, but if the Jets were going first overall in the draft, they would practically be forced to take Fernando Mendoza. Either do that or they would have to trade down for more selections. No, I can't quite do it. I think he's going to be a decent quarterback in times. But what I was alarmed about, guys, I don't know what his height is listed as. I saw 2 pictures of him, and one of them he seemed to have some height. In the other picture, he seemed to be just a short guy, like going to like a librarian, working behind the counter, a short guy. I don't know, can he take all those hits? and all that. I know in the bowl game he was tough on that goal line, play, but
I gotta stop you right there, Jack.
good.
Come on, I gotta stop you right there, man. Because you're calling Fernando Mendoza short on one side of your neck, but on the other side of your neck, you are all in on Trinidad Chambliss. You know how tall he is? You know how tall he is? He's barely 6 foot. He's barely 6 foot. I'm not saying
Chambliss, he throws his passes rolling out basically.
Exactly.
But that's the modern NFL. You move
but Fernando
around,
Mendoza is a pocket.
From the pocket a lot of the time.
But Fernando Mendoza he's not that short. That the guy's son you talking about must be maybe a 6'6" guy or something. I don't know for sure. He's got to be pretty much up there. I don't think Fernando Mendoza is that short.
He's listed as 6'5", Mendoza.
Yeah, your friend's son must be a big guy.
No, the other picture I saw of him in the pub, he was nice and tall and rangy in that photo. Mendoza, I think, is going to be a good quarterback, but that's the extent of it. He's not going to be a great quarterback. He could be a good quarterback, perhaps. I'll give you an example who could be a good quarterback. Trevor Lawrence. He's a good quarterback, right? He's not a great quarterback. So he could be the next Trevor Lawrence Mendoza, a decent quarterback.
Yeah, with that said, I just think that if I had to pick, let's just say if Mendoza went next year, if he was here for one more year, I think out of that crop, he's still probably going to be the top 2 picks because of how he played. And if he played this year the same way, next year the same way as he did this year, I'm not sold like you on Arch Manning. I'm not sold just yet. I think
I'm not sold on Arch Manning yet.
Right. I said that's what I'm saying. I said just like you, I'm not sold on Arch Manning either. Yeah. But Trinidad Chambliss, I think. I'm with you. I think he's going to be a little bit better than people expect, and I think he's going to be because you can see. To me, he reminds me of Russell Wilson. I get the Brett Favre comp, but I just think of the height to me and what he has to do in order to get the ball out is because he's got to roll out most of the time to be able to see. Because it's just more short quarterbacks. They just got to do that. They can't see above a 6'4", 6'5", 6'6" line, And so they most times in order to be successful, they have to roll out a little bit, and of course they use their legs too to run. But I just think that Mendoza still would be for you. The main reason I picked them getting changing those picks out is because of the amount of picks that you have, the amount of success. Why not take a run on him? And you can get whoever else you want in this same year's draft by maneuvering some of those picks.
Once they make that deal, it takes a player like David Bailey off the table, an impact player at another position. And they're dressing quarterback now and next year. If they whoever drafts Mendoza, it's not even an issue to draft a quarterback next year, not one of the top quarterbacks. I'm not talking about taking a fly on someone in the later round. Anyone could do that. But once you do that, you've given up on next year's crop of quarterbacks coming out. I'm just saying you got to preach patience. You're going to get someone next season that just as good as Mendoza next year, which is going to be a good quarterback coming out of college.
But Jack, they have 3, you said it yourself, 3 first-round draft picks next year. You can work magic with that.
Let me ask you this. If you have a choice right now, you could have one of them to be a future quarterback for the Jets, let's say. Let's say the Saints. Let's say Tyler Shuck retires. Let's just say that. And forget Spencer Rattler. He's not bad, but forget about him. Arch Manning or Fernando Mendoza, who would you take?
Mendoza first hand.
You would take Mendoza ahead of Manning.
Yes.
If you're no, I'm not saying who's better right now. You have to project how good they're going to be going forward in their NFL career. That's all I'm talking about.
I'm with you. Go ahead.
You would take Mendoza. You would project him to be better than Manning, and that would be your guy.
I'm saying that yes, because he did not unseat the guy. What was his name? who's the starter for Texas. Yes, he didn't unseat him. I just that to me, that was a red flag for me. That was a red flag for me.
So you're projecting Manning won't be as good as Mendoza as an NFL
No,
player?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
And you're projecting the Mendoza is going to be better than Trinidad Chambliss? Are you projecting that?
I'm not. That jury's out on that. I got to see a little bit more of because I thought no Trinidad. I think he was. I think he played great.
You can't see more of it. Yeah, you're projecting.
Okay, like you say. Okay, so now I'm still based on the tape and everything, and then the pedigree. I would give the edge to Mendoza. I would take Mendoza still. I would take Mendoza. First of all, he can see above the line, and two. I mean, again, I just saw. Look at the that win against who was that they played? Oh, Penn State. Yeah, that's just top notch for me, man. That's what you want to see. That's what I want to see for sure. And I think his ceiling's a little higher than people expect.
The Jets should give up number 2 and number 16, trade with the Raiders, draft Mendoza. So that means with all the Jets need, they go to the second round and they pick number 32, number 44, where you could fill up some gaps.
You can trade one of those first rounds you got in 27 for first. That's what I'm saying. Yes, you do. You got 3. You can keep 2 for next year. That's a great position to have.
You hear the word first round and you get fooled by it. Teams are going to trade with the Jets their first rounder for the Jets first round the next year. Let's say the Detroit Lions, for example, call the Jets up, say, we'll trade you our first rounder this year so you can get back in the first rounder for one of your first rounders next year. The Jets will be foolish to do it because their first rounder next year is going to have more value. It's going to be a better pick because the Jets are going to have a worse record than the Lions next year.
I'm saying don't give up the one that you have. If you're projected to be lower, you give up one of the ones that the teams traded for. You give one of those up. Don't give yours. If you're projected to be lower,
they're not going to do an even.
Well, then that GM needs to be fired in New York. Then if he gives up the one that he's projected to have the lowest, you gotta be able to negotiate. That's the name of the game. Negotiate and then package some other later round draft picks to go with it. You just don't give up the one that you have. That's what I'm saying. I would definitely still try to get back in the first round of this year's draft. I would try to get back in.
Well, they're going 32 and 44 in the second round. So they're close enough with a quality in the second round.
Those are great. That's the first pick of the second round. That's the first pick of the second round.
Right. And then, so they really don't have to move in. They wouldn't have to necessarily move back into the first round this year because there are a couple of players they could get, who could start, second round picks. So.
And I wouldn't be surprised I'm going to let you go, B, right there. I'm going to say this one last thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they did make a move with all those draft picks that they have right now before the draft, because it's I think it'll be warranted to do that.
Well, they might. Well, I think they'll go the opposite. They might trade down from number 2 to try to get additional draft capital. But there's such thing as overthinking things. David Bailey is going to be a great player. Just don't overthink it. Take David Bailey with the second overall pick. Case closed. If the Raiders call you about Mendoza, if the Jets are really high Mendoza, take him. But Frank Reich is the offensive coordinator for the Jets. He's rumored to want Carson Wentz back. And it's a crazy situation because if Carson Wentz has a good year for the Jets might not even draft a quarterback next year. The whole thing might backfire on them.
You sign him for a year. That's why you sign him for a season.
But if he plays really well and Frank Reich loves him, the offensive coordinator, they might just decide
still draft a quarterback. You can't. Wentz is too. No, you still draft a quarterback.
I agree with you. But if Reich has this power, people get fooled. The owner, Woody Johnson, could get fooled. Oh, Carson's looking really well. He could be our starter. We don't have to draft a quarterback.
He got fooled for his own son. But anyway, what I would say here in this situation, Chambliss has got one more year to play in college before he comes out. And you want to monitor that situation. Now, say the Jets want to go in that direction that you want to go in there, Jack. What is there? It really depends on what their end game is for this year. Do they want to draft defense, some offensive line players, some defensive line players, maybe a linebacker in a corner, something like that, so they can start, getting the pieces into this team, and then next year get the quarterback, and then take like a flyer on Wentz. Okay, so you get Wentz, and you have him for a year, and you may be 7-10, you may be 5-12, whatever the outcome may be, because you got new players in there. And he's not that good of a quarterback. But anyway, the point of the matter is, it depends on what the organization, how they're going forward. If they're thinking on the terms of they want to get a quarterback that's going to be their franchise quarterback next year, and maybe they're looking at Chambliss. Maybe you're right, Jack. Maybe they're looking at Chambliss. And they're saying, well, let me see how he does this year, and we can bank stuff. And there's a lot of other good quarterbacks coming out next year too. So he's a plan A. You have plan B and plan C because you've got good high draft picks, depending on where you fall at this year. So I don't know. Actually, to tell you the truth, I would take my second pick and trade it for some more picks. That's what I would do. I'd trade down, because if you're not it depends on what you're going to do. If you're not looking for a quarterback, there's no reason to have, try to trade up. You got plenty of people in the first round that are going to be good players. So you just got to figure out what holes you need to fill in first, start filling those holes in first, and then get to your quarterback next year. And then that way you have more picks even for next year if you trade out, out of your first round this year. I don't know. It's like I said, it's whatever that organization wants. And then you got to hit on these draft picks. It's not just like it's easy as having all these draft picks and saying, oh, yeah, we're great, we're going to do all this. Your GM has to hit on these draft picks. Okay? Even if he hits even if he hits 50% of them, you did good. But you got to hit at least on 50% of these. So
that's why I have to agree with Jack that David Bailey is probably the safest pick.
David Bailey's the next. I like to compare guys coming out to who they might be like. He's the next Chris Jones. Okay, I mean, sometimes we miss on guys, but I think we tend to overthink it. We keep hearing draft picks, but you said it best, Brian. You have to hit on them, and you can't afford to
at least half of them
up early picks. Those are the impact picks. You can afford to mess up on the 4th round, 5th round, 6th, 7th, at that. By the time you get to the 6th to 7th round, even 5th round, you could gamble on guys. You could take a chance on someone. But those early picks, I mean, you can't afford to mess up.
And they're going to trade some of those picks. The Jets are not going to use all those draft picks. They're going to trade some of those to move up in some positions. You got way too many draft picks here. They don't have a third. They're probably going to move up to get in a third. They're going to package some of those
picks. Those second round picks will be really good to be.
Without a doubt.
Bill Parcells, one of the greatest coaches, as far as I'm concerned, in NFL history. Not a good talent evaluator. Lousy GM. When he was in charge of the Jets, they were going number 1 in the draft, and Orlando Pace was there for him, but he traded down. Traded stupid picks. What did he get? The best he got out of that was James Farrior. I mean, stupid. He did something like a number 10 and number 26 or whatever, to get more draft capital. I
think that's the thing that concerns me about more about Jets front office, the general manager, and they're picking these drafts and who they get, because I mean, there's a lot of fault in every GM. Every GM has their weaknesses on what they can do. Like for the Lions, it's basically we can't do free agency very well because they're always trying to bargain basement shop instead of doing. And then they go out there. I mean, Brad Holmes is pretty good at scout talent ability, and he kind of hits on most of them. Although in the last couple of years he's not been the greatest at it, but he is a good talent evaluator, and he has a proven record. Whereas I'm not so sure about your GM. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that I have a fear for the Jets. If that guy can pick well and get the right guys in there, and even if he hits at 50% of the draft picks that he gets in the next 2 years, that's all you guys need. You don't need everybody to be great. You just need 50% of them people to be great. So I don't know if he can do it. That's the thing. I don't know how you feel about your GM there, but I'm not confident. But anyway. All right, next question. Where would be the best place for LeBron James to finish out his career? Go ahead, Jack.
We don't know how long for sure, excuse me, LeBron James is going to be playing. He doesn't talk about it per se. We don't quite have the same drama we have with LeBron James that we have with Aaron Rodgers. And LeBron is going to have some options. I mean, he's still a top player. He's not the LeBron of old, but he's still an impact player who can help a team. And you have to consider LeBron lives in Los Angeles. Does he want to stay close to home? And with that said, he has two options, the Lakers and the Clippers. Going to the Clippers wouldn't make sense. The Clippers aren't going to be much better with LeBron James, teaming up with Kawhi Leonard. As far as the Lakers go, you get the feeling his days with the Lakers are going to end this season. I mean, he doesn't seem that happy over there, and they're not going to build a team around LeBron the way LeBron wants going forward. So I see him leaving there. Golden State has been discussed as a possibility, teaming up with Steph Curry. He gets along with Draymond Green now. Steve Kerr, he'll be fine with, but they're a little long in the tooth. They're not going to win an NBA championship with LeBron. I don't see LeBron going somewhere like Houston to team up with KD or go to OKC, go to San Antonio, because I don't think he wants to live there. No offense to those cities. It's not in LeBron's DNA. You got to live there. It's a big culture shock when you move, and he has his choice. Going back to Cleveland, it would be ideal. They love LeBron. They forget Miami. Miami fans were lousy towards him when he left, and even though he left Miami for good reason, he wanted to go back home to Cleveland. The way they turned on him in such a hateful fashion, he wouldn't even consider Miami now. If the fans were better, he would have considered going back there, I'm sure. But Cleveland is a great landing spot, to play your last year, 2, maybe 3 years. Because even if they don't win, the fans are going to embrace him. They're going to love him. He's already delivered a championship for him. But with that said, the ideal place, ending your career to bangers, the New York Knicks. Going to New York, it would be off the charts, LeBron being in New York. And it would be a place where he would be okay living at least short term, because he'd be in the limelight, getting the fanciest apartment on Park Avenue, playing at Madison Square Garden, playing for a team that's ready to win. And if they win a championship, the Knicks with LeBron James, and the Knicks are within championship range, even if they don't win it this year, which the odds are a little against them winning it, if they win it with LeBron, you know how big that would be? I mean, that would be off the rails. The Knicks finally win another championship, and LeBron would be considered the legend of legends, winning the title for Cleveland, winning one for Miami, winning one with the Lakers, winning one with the Knicks. It would be off the charts. And the buzz it would create in New York, he would be recharged. Every night would have excitement, and he would be playing with top quality players beside him all the time. I mean, the buzz it would create. I say the New York Knicks, you take your chance, you come here, the buzz, the impact, he would be recharged, LeBron, completely recharged.
Mute, James, you're on mute.
So I do think your decision to go with the New York Knicks is is not a bad one. I'm going to say that it's not a bad choice because
Yeah.
LeBron James, wherever he's won, or wherever most teams that he's played for have been big markets. I mean, Miami, Los Angeles Lakers, not the Cleveland Cavaliers, but the big markets were, both East Coast and South and the West Coast. And New York would fall right in that mix as a huge market to go there. And right now, New York Knickerbockers seem like they're in prime position, even with Mike Brown as their head coach, to get off and position themselves to try to compete for a championship. I just still don't think that that's going to happen with LeBron James. I don't think he's going to go to a team like that when he's on the tail end of his career. I do think that he would travel to another team. And I think the biggest reason for not going to New York would be that he's already been there, done that with Mike Brown. I think that their relationship, I don't know how it is now, but I don't think it ended well when Mike Brown got fired from from Cleveland, when LeBron James was still there.
I ask you this, James, to cut in. Name one coach who LeBron has really liked and embraced. None of them.
Yes, but can you name one that he's joined again to match up again? I think the only time you see LeBron James went back to Cleveland, go back somewhere or backtrack, was when he went back to Cleveland, and that turned out to be the right decision. And that's my answer right here. He's going to go back to Cleveland to retire. He's going to go back there to retire. And Cleveland, let's not say that he's going there just to have a nice kumbaya moment and say, this is the place where I started, so this is the place where I'm going to end. They actually look good. They actually have LeBron James is a defensive liability. I looked at a few teams that would be a defensive stalwart that would allow him to play his game the way he could play at this juncture of his career. I thought San Antonio would be good, the Boston Celtics, but the only reason why he wouldn't go to the Boston Celtics is because that's one of his hated rivalries. He's not going to go back there, and he hated the fan base and everything, so he's not going to go back there. The Detroit Pistons, I thought that he might go there because I could see him teaming up with Cade Cunningham, and they are a great defensive team. But with that said, and I think LeBron would help them in the sense that maybe he puts them over the top. But with that said, Cleveland, I mean, if they keep him and Donovan Mitchell, even if LeBron James came off the bench and they kept James Harden, let's just say they kept James Harden to play his position, and LeBron James manages the second team and comes off the bench. And with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley being their defensive guys there, they would give the East problems. I think they would give the East problems, and that would give LeBron James sending him off potentially with a championship. So Cleveland to me sounds like the best option right now because it's too many things tied into it. Again, that's where he started. That's where he can finish, and he can finish there with another championship. He would give him 2 championships that he's done. And not saying just him this go around because obviously he's on the tail end of his career. But with that being said, and it gives him a 5th championship, and it puts him in the upper echelon of those great players, which he's still already there, but it just solidifies it. And it does it in style by, again, going back to where he started from and with Cleveland. I just can't see anybody other team right now.
I mean, Cleveland makes sense as far as where he would live because he lived, in the area, Akron, grew up around there. As far as when you start talking about places like Detroit, I mean, get out of here. He doesn't want to live in Detroit. I mean, I no offense, Brian, but I think back to Alex Rodriguez when he was a free agent and Scott Boras was his agent negotiating. Alex Rodriguez got involved. He said, Scott is going to have me sign with Detroit and he's going to go and live in Los Angeles and I'm going to be in Detroit. I mean, when you come from another city like LA, New York, Detroit's not a destination place. Milwaukee's not a destination place. You got to understand that LeBron has to live somewhere. Cleveland makes a ton of sense. I'm not arguing against Cleveland. I just think New York would energize him a little more because they already won a championship at Cleveland. He already accomplished his objective at Cleveland. It's always nice to win again, but he's done it at Cleveland, and the fans appreciate him for it. They're never going to forget that, okay? But you win it at New York, it's going to a parade. He's going to be the legend of legends, LeBron. You win it at New York.
He's already the legends of legends.
There's one coach he did get along with, Tyronn Lue, the Clipper coach, but the Clippers still on a destination place.
I mean, he's already the legend of legends, Jack. I would say right as of right now. But to say that Detroit wouldn't be an option because it's a place he wouldn't want to live, for all intents and purposes, is only going to be 1 year more than likely if LeBron goes somewhere else. He's done. I mean, I think he's done after 1 year.
James, LeBron might be chasing a ghost, and that ghost is Michael Jordan. And believe me, I'm sure LeBron thinks of it constantly. He wants to go down as the greatest NBA player of all time. You know, it's all perception. And the way to do it right now is just pad your stats, hold every record possible. And then when people compare, they look at LeBron's record. But you win an NBA championship with the Knicks, that'll actually catapult him ahead of Jordan. They say, this guy's career's been like crazy. They wouldn't care 5, 6 rings. They say, but look at LeBron's rings. He's won it with 4 different teams, and Jordan didn't win it with the Wizards.
I'll just put it to you like that's an intriguing thought there, Jack, about New York. But as James stated, I don't know what the relationship between him and Mike Brown is, and he's just going to be another defensive liability on that team. And New York they're okay defensively. I think they're pretty good defensively, but at the same time, it ain't coming from their top 2 stars, that's for sure. So, Cat or Jalen Brunson, but Cleveland is a better place. First of all, that's his hometown, state. He was born there. So, and to add that power along with Harden and the rest of the bunch right now, Cleveland is playing pretty good right now. Detroit has a hard time playing them. I think they're 2-2 this year against each other. So you got to look at those sort of things too. If he gets on this team, he can catapult them to a champion. I think he can catapult them to a finals appearance. That's for sure. I still think the West is too overpowering right now for the East, no matter who's on that team. But yeah, I think the Cleveland would be a great place for him to be. To finish his career, and he'll be embraced by the community, which he's always been embraced by the community. Don't make it. He comes to play the Cavaliers from the Lakers. They stand up and they cheer for him. Come on.
Yeah, quick question for both of you. Let's say the Cavs don't take him back. We never consider that. It's possible they might feel he doesn't fit in, quite the way we want it, and that they'd have a right to reject him without getting criticized. They don't own him anything for him to finish his career with them. He's left them a couple of times, even though that would be the worst power move by any GM or owner, to take one of the greatest players and not allow him to come finish the story. The viewership that's going to come to Cleveland because LeBron James is coming back home to finish his career. That would be the most idiotic thing owner. Hold on. That would be the next biggest idiotic thing that he did by writing that letter when LeBron James left Cleveland, but writing that stupid letter. That'd be next to that. Or maybe that would top that by not bringing LeBron James. That wouldn't make any sense business wise. I agree to a point. But let's say the Cavaliers, and this is a possibility, win the NBA championship this year. They put it all together. They're certainly contenders. Mm-hmm. If they're the defending NBA champions, they might look, LeBron doesn't fit into our style of play. Then it changes the equation. Things happen to an extent. And they might tell him, we don't want Bronny to come along as well.
Well, I hope they don't accept Bronny. I mean, that might be
a deal breaker for LeBron. Who knows? The Knicks might say, sure, we'll get Bronny and give him some playing time.
To the argument, that Cleveland would, LA's trying to bail on him. It's already obvious that the front office don't want him there. It's subtle, but you can tell that the ownership does. I'm not talking about JJ Redick. I'm talking about.
I'm telling you why. I'm going to tell you why. because Jenny Buss had a relationship with Phil Jackson, very close. I don't have to go into details. And LeBron and Phil Jackson don't like one another. And believe me, behind the scenes, that enters into it. Even no one's going to say anything publicly.
But she's no longer an owner there, though.
Right. That's true.
But I guess
she has clout there.
Look, with every superstar, there's baggage that comes along with them. There's the ego. There's everything. When you begin to decline, people get tired of that because they tolerate those things, the little things that you have, because you're able to produce. When you're not producing, that ego and everything has to go out. And look at Chris Paul. I mean, prime example. Not saying LeBron James is at the level of Chris Paul, but Chris Paul couldn't keep doing the antics that he was doing when you didn't have the skill set to match that or surpass that. And LeBron James has waned a little bit. He doesn't play defense, and he still plays really good offensive ball. He plays good, but he's not great. He's not the LeBron James that won the championship for the Lakers in 2020. He's not even that. So it's just, and then they brought in Luka. They got to build around that guy, a guy that's 25 years old. LeBron James is 41. That's a big difference.
Yeah, and ending on this point though, Jack, you're right, because you don't know what these teams may want or not want, and to me, and I'm not a big LeBron fan, but if LeBron was to be offered a contract, even by the Pistons, I wouldn't mind that at all. But I think the point is that the team's got to want it. And, we're talking all this speculation, but you never know. Maybe somebody's like, we don't really want LeBron James right now. And that's sorry to say at this point of his career, but it is at this point of his career too. So, I mean, I understand it if they refused him too, but it is what it is.
And he would have to, I think LeBron James would probably have to be humble enough to take like the basic contract, to take, what is, I can't even think of the word, to take certain criteria or standards that they might require of him to not come in like this. You can't come in with these type of attitude or this ego. You got to humble yourself and come in. If you're going to play with this team, because first of all, we're trying to win another championship. If the Cleveland Cavaliers win this year, and he goes back to Cleveland, we want to win another one. And we want you to send you off the right way. Yes, LeBron James will have to comply with that.
Yeah, we have a coach, LeBron. We don't need you as a coach. I mean, you can be a mentor to the players, but you ain't coaching his team, bro. We got
Bronny can't come here, and Bronny can't come here. That's probably more than likely what they would say.
And that too. Yeah, that too. All right, on to the next. Should the World Baseball Classic be stricter in its nationality requirements and in adhering to the request of the major league teams who won't want certain players to play less? I think I'm gonna go to Jack on this one.
Yeah, I don't know what to make out of the World Baseball Classic. It should be one of the biggest things in sports. It should be to baseball what the World Cup is to soccer. And yet it's fun and games. It's glorified exhibition games. You want athletes who actually come from that country. You don't want them to have a smidgen of a relationship with the country. I'm seeing an interview the other day with a player from the Dominican Republic, the Yankee catcher Austin Wells. If you look at me, I'm as Dominican as Austin Wells. Okay? And I'm looking and I'm in disbelief. Austin Wells, a white American, who was born here in the United States, who's lived here his whole life. He's playing for the Dominican Republic. And Harold Reynolds was humored by it. And he asked him, what's the link? Well, he had a grandmother who had some Dominican heritage or whatever. Listen, my parents were born in Poland. I've never been to Poland. If I were a ball player, imagine I'm playing for the Poland national team. I mean, the whole darn thing doesn't make sense. I see my Yankees second baseman, Chaz Chisholm. he's playing for, England, the UK in the baseball classic, and players are all over the place who they're playing for. I mean, this started, in track and field and in the Olympics, and I hated it when a great runner, a Kenyan runner, for example, who can't make his Olympic team, he applies for citizenship in the USA and he enters the Olympic trials and deprives someone living here, born here, his whole life, a spot on the team because he gets a quick citizenship, or however it works. I shouldn't use the word quick. I'm not sure exactly how the process works out, but it's unfair. It is unfair. I mean, if I were a great athlete, I would feel too guilty if I couldn't make my Olympic team, going to another country and depriving someone who's lived there their whole life a spot on their national team. But this World Baseball Classic, too, we have the general managers of the teams saying, oh, the players can only play so much in the World Baseball Classic. We need them back at spring training. I'm listening to Michael Kay, wonderful broadcaster here from New York, complaining about the Met first baseman, one of the Met players, Mark Vientos, because he's playing in the World Baseball Classic, and Kay saying he should be learning how to play first base with the Mets. They need him to work on things. He should be in camp with the Mets. So how important is a darn World Baseball Classic? Call it a fun exhibition game like the All-Star game if you want. I mean, they don't know what direction they're headed in. Players who don't have that exact nationality, but have a distant relative from another country, they qualified so they could fill up rosters. I mean, I just don't like it. I mean, it's not that strong of a tournament when you do that. It's not a real tournament. And certain countries can supply the players, okay? Because they have a big baseball background, but those are the only ones that should enter. I mean, don't fill in gaps, players who really haven't played for that country, but because they have a relative who was there in the past or has some religion or whatever to push them there. I just don't like it.
Jack, you're thinking about this from a total purist perspective. You're looking at everything from its totality, from a viewership range or from a business standpoint. You're looking at this as a total purist, and I don't have any argument with you in regards to that. But that being said, viewership matters, Jack. Viewership matters, and sometimes parity, having to put certain players in certain places, matters in order to obtain that viewership. And I think the looser rules has allowed that to happen. I mean, in 2023, I think they garnered the final garnered like 6.5 million viewers. It's just, and this is not even regular baseball. This is a tournament. This is, to me, this is baseball's Olympics. So you're looking at it. I'm not from the standpoint of like you saying that it's ruining it. It's supposed to be like soccer. I don't think it's like that. I think people are going to watch more. I think the average viewer can care less if somebody's not from that country or not. What they want to see are stars playing somewhere, and they want to see competitive baseball if they like baseball. The purists, yes, the purists are going to be argue like yourself. We're going to argue, and I don't have a problem. I'm a purist myself, but I'm looking at it from a business perspective. I'm looking at it from logically from like a world view. That like the Olympics or something like that. You just got to have people in to be competitive, and if it's like one-sided, nobody's really going to watch if it's just one-sided. I see. I know Richard. I knew Richard probably going to agree with Jack on this, but I'm just looking at it from all sides here. I just think that you got it, in order to be competitive, you got to have some level of parity. I'm not saying that it's right to have a guy that has a grandmother that has an inkling of a specific. That's goofy. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But yes, I still see it from a perspective of business. I mean, I drove Uber and I allow me.
James, Austin Wells, they asked him, does he speak Spanish? He doesn't even speak Spanish, and he's representing the Dominican Republic.
It's terrible. Yes, I agree with you, Jack. I understand that perspective. But again, speaking from the business perspective side of it, they're going to figure out ways to be able to obtain viewership, to obtain ratings, and so it probably would have been not good had there been no players. I mean, you see Olympics in basketball. A long time ago when the USA would just dominate teams. I mean, nobody wanted to see that. Now it's competitive. Now you see a lot of other teams. They play for their teams, and some of them, it may be the same thing. Some of those players don't even recognize
they go back
it.
to countries in the off season.
Yeah.
They play in the NBA. I'm good with that. The NBA does it the right way.
Yes, but with that being said, the level of the level of talent has improved in other countries, Jack. It may not have improved in baseball.
Well, leave those countries out. If you can't put on a representative team, they shouldn't be in the tournament. Just put in the countries who have at least a slim chance of winning the tournament, or at least holding their own, not being embarrassed.
Then are we calling it a World Baseball Classic?
Yes, it is a World Baseball Classic. If you have no hope of winning at all, you can't complain. You want to be a participant, put in a team. I'm not saying you have to be that good. That at least if you're going to lose, you lose 8-2 game after game. You'll lose decisively, but you won't embarrass yourself.
That is embarrassing, Jack. But let me answer the other part of this question. In regards to adhering to the requests of the major league teams who want certain players to play less.
Yeah,
I disagree with that too. I think that's on the Major League Baseball or Major League Baseball and their collective bargaining agreement. They need to imply that into their rules to state that they don't want players to play outside of the league more so. That's their fault. If that's part of the question here, I think a player should be able to do whatever they want to do if it's not in strict rules within the collective bargaining agreement. If it's not within the confines of that, then they should be able to go ahead and represent their country and do other things, even if it is tying into too close to being the spring or baseball when it's time to go play the start of baseball. So I think the baseball collective bargaining agreement should change if it doesn't have those standards in there. But other than that, I'm finished.
Do you think that real quick? Do you think that maybe pushing the World Championship, the World Baseball Classic, a little bit back might help them out, so it's not really intermingling with spring training? Because you're bringing up the viewership, but let me tell you something. If it ain't baseball season for me, because I'm one of those fans that just I want to see the baseball. I want to see MLB. I don't care about anything unless it's the Olympics. I'm not paying attention too much to the World Baseball Classic, to tell you the truth. Even if even with all these things that you say are going to change the viewership of it, I'm still not going to watch it. I mean, I'm going to watch the USA once in a while. Japan looks pretty good. So if it ever comes down to Japan and the USA and the World Baseball Classic, the number one, number two, yeah, I'm going to watch that. But I'm not watching Australia. They might be good, but I'm not watching them. So it's just, are we really, I mean, what are we doing here, to tell you the truth? It's a good concept, but are they doing it at a right time frame? And they're doing it basketball, hockey. It's the same time. And if they do it, if they move it back, it'll be intermingling with the football.
No, Brian, they're doing it at the right time because March, it's spring training, players on shape. Now they're just trying to sharpen up. You can't do it mid-season because the break in the schedule, you got to finish up at a certain time for the playoffs. You can't push the season any further back. So they're actually doing it at the best possible time. I do have to give, them credit for that.
All right. Well, these franchises are just looking out for their players too. They want to be competitive when it comes to, time for major leagues to start. They don't want to see their players go out there and get hurt. So I don't think it's not necessarily, as you said, it's a business. So it's also on the business side of the MLB too. I mean,
that's
they're
exactly that's why I was saying maybe they should change their collective bargaining agreement to imply that they should not allow certain teams may have the right to deny the request of their players to be able to play in that, because they're considering, like, especially someone who might have been injury prone or something like that. It goes against their contract. All that verbiage needs to be in the contracts. It needs to be definitely in order to sway or to make them feel better as a league or whatnot. But yeah,
listen, there's certain players who played, like Pedro Martinez, David Ortiz of the Red Sox, who live in the Dominican Republic in the off season. They're true Dominicans. That's who they should represent. I mean, but then you have the case I mentioned, Alex Rodriguez. He's Dominican, clear-cut Dominican, but he was born in the United States. He's lived his whole life in the United States, and then he made a statement years ago when he was playing, I want to represent the Dominican Republic. Well, you've lived here your whole life. I object to that. Okay? You're going to try to beat the United States of America, the place you live at? I mean, you could live here the majority of the year, but let's say you own a place, you have your heritage elsewhere, and you do go back there and spend time back there. I'm okay with that if you were born there and so on. I mean, but if someone is clear cut from a particular country, just because just because there's some nationality link, religion or whatever, relatives, it's not good enough.
Yeah, I get that. I'm with you on that whole situation. I mean, your ethnicity shouldn't be determined by who you play for, basically. And I think that Rodriguez has a point, kind of. But at the same time,
I kind of disagree with what you're both saying on that in regards to because it's like a hypocritical statement. You wanting a player to play for your United States, but yet you let these guys come in from a whole nother country that don't have citizenship here, come here and play in the US. I mean, in the NBA. It's so, I mean, Dirk Nowitzki.
Well, that's representing a pro team. That's not representing country play, though. That's what I'm saying.
You're playing but they're not citizens here, though. My thing is they still get to play here and make money and do everything else. That could be a whole nother argument. Is that okay? Those guys get to come here and play. I mean, saying like players who can't make it here in the NBA, they go to other countries and play in their league and play for work. But you're still, I mean, like you said, it's slightly different. You're playing for the league, but I mean, you're playing for a league, not a country. But at the same time, you're still able to do that. I mean, people can't just come to this country and work here unless they have, they on visas. But most of those guys that like Dirk, does he have a citizenship here now? I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys end up, like Jack said, a lot of those guys end up getting it quicker, to play here. So, I mean, it's everything's kind of shaky on that. So it's just hard for me to just like knock a guy for going and play for another country. Like Rodriguez, what you said, his ties, he's Dominican, like you said. I mean, his ties are there, but he was born here. It's still kind of shaky there because, again, his parents were born in Dominican. And so he's American, but still, it's kind of tough. That's kind of a tough one.
On that note, we will see you guys next Saturday at 8 a.m. Everybody have a great day.